Hard, heavy, and hair. Badass music for badass listeners. With Pariah Burke.
Robin McAuley is one of the best hard rock and metal vocalists ever to have stepped behind a microphone. If you were listening to hard rock in the 80s, you probably know Robin best as the voice of the McAuley Schenker Group, MSG, with his frequent partner guitarist Michael Schenker. Younger fans of the genre may only know Robin McAuley from his more recent work fronting the supergroup Black Swan, with Reb Beach, Jeff Pilson, and Matt Starr, or as one of the many vocalists in the star-studded long-running Las Vegas jukebox mega concert, Raiding the Rock Vault. I recently spoke with Robin about Raiding the Rock Vault, the status of the second Black Swan album Reb Beach had recently told me was in the works, Robin's advice to new singers, his brand new solo album, his first in more than 20 years, and more. So how you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, man. Everything good?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you for joining me.
Oh, thanks for having me. Pleasure. You play guitar? You look like a guitar player god, dude.
Not a little bit, but nothing good.
I know a dude called Michael Schenker. Do you know that dude?
I might have heard of him. Yeah. He's all right, you know.
Yeah, he's German.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you first about the new album, Standing on the Edge. It's out May 7th on Frontiers Music.
Right.
I've been listening to it. It's a great album. I'm really enjoying it.
Thank you. You know, I wasn't sure because I think I tell everybody the same thing. I thought, why would I want to make a solo record? You know, who will listen? Who would want to listen? You know, especially after a great Black Swan record. I don't want to be doing a solo record, you know, fuck things up.
So what got you to do it?
You know, the label kept persisting and going, oh, come on, you know, momentum. It'll be great before the next Black Swan, which coincidentally, as we're talking today, we started writing the second Black Swan this week. So good timing. I guess, you know, with the pandemic, home, and they just sent a ton of songs to me and went, pick what you want to work on. And then I thought, well, maybe this is a great opportunity for me to reach out to people from the past, because the label is saying, you know, people want to hear a little you. They want to hear you, a little bit of this, a little bit of what they're used to hearing. And I went, but that's kind of more of the same, which is a little boring for me, you know. And they went, yeah, you know, but anyway. So I reached out to my old keyboard player from Grand Prix, Phil Lanson. I reached out to Howard Least that I worked with in the Vegas show on Raiding the Rock Vault. And then Tony Franklin pointed me to Tommy Denander up all the way across there in Sweden, who's doing amazingly well with the new Alice Cooper record, because he co-wrote and produced that record. Detroit Spaces. And
I didn't know he co-wrote that.
Yeah, I did. And
Nice.
So Tommy sent me a bunch of songs, two of which I worked on, and the label liked, Chosen Few and Do You Remember. And then Alessandro Del Vecchio from the label, their go-to guy who never sleeps and works all the time. And so we collaborated, picked 12 songs. I recorded the vocals. And we got a great record. I'm really happy that I did it now. So, you know, sometimes you just need that little push.
Yeah. So did you write any of it, or is it?
I wrote all of the lyrics and all of the melodies. That's all my stuff. And Alessandro sent me almost a dozen songs, I think. I picked 6 or 8 of his. And then I had one from Howard Least, supposed to do now. I had 2 from Tommy and 1 from Phil Lanson from Uriah Heep / Grand Prix. we found a studio here because, with pandemic, it's like hard to get into a studio or find one. So I found an engineer who was willing to sit with his mask on. And Alessandro sent him all the stems. I wrote all the lyrics, the melodies. I went in, he hit record, and I just went, let's do this. And we sent them back. Alessandro is in Italy. So we sent the tracks back to him. He mixed, sent me some rough mixes. I fixed a few things that I wanted more guitar here, a little bit more Hammond here. And he did a fantastic job. Great guitar player on there, Andrea Saveso, just nailed it. And we got a pretty decent, balanced record out of the whole thing. So I'm happy. It's good. And 2 good singles out the gate. Now, Standing on the Edge, the title track, and Say Goodbye was the last one. And there will be another single with the drop date release date, May 7th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what track that is? Or is it Hush Hush?
I don't know if it's Hush Hush. I'll tell you, what's Hush. Want to Take a Ride. They decided should be a
good one.
Yeah, it's hooky. It's positive. It's up, and it's like, let's get out of here. Let's go take a ride on the beach. And that's really why I wrote it, because I heard the music and I went, this got to be a happy song, And I thought, a day on the beach would be great in the middle of all of this other stuff that's going on. So That's kind of where I got the inspiration for the lyrics, and I just went, I'm out the door. I'm heading that direction. I'm heading west. and it came out as really cool. It's very sing along, and I think it fits well on the record. So, yeah.
I like that track. I think that'll do really well as the last single to introduce the record.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and it's very up, and it's kind of summery, if you can do such a thing. I was thinking actually of Don Henley's Boys of Summer. That's what I was actually thinking when I was writing it, and I'm going, something about this, just that sort of positiveness, and I went, okay, I want to write a song very like that. It's not like that at all, of course, but in my mind, that's what was going on.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
and that'll come out leading into the summer.
That will come out leading into the summer. So, perfect timing. Let me see. Did I use that before?
Yeah. So since we're talking about songs on the album, Late December is one of the tracks. I really love the lyrics. We lived our dreams. We built our treasures. We gave in to our guilty pleasures. Is there a story behind that?
Of course there's a story. It's actually, I wrote that for my wife.
Oh, nice.
Yes, we will actually, I never usually write a song for my wife. She goes, how come there's never a song for me? Of course, she doesn't talk like that at all. My wife is actually from Austria. And short story, Def Leppard tour in 1988. That's when I met my wife. She was born and raised in Vienna, Austria, worked on a magazine and just was at the show with her friend. And I spotted this amazing looking human being, and we hung out for a while, didn't see each other for 4 years. I was back on tour. I'm thinking, I wonder if she's married and got kids and all of that sort of stuff. Did a little research. She shows up at a show, and we'll be married 28 years this year with twin boys who are now 22 years of age.
28 years. Congratulations. That's that's an accomplishment.
I have no idea what you were thinking. Thank God. So I wrote Late December about it because after the 4-year break, we were playing in Stockholm in Sweden. Schenker and I were doing the Unplugged tour. And she tracked me down and she said, I know where you're playing and no expense to you. I'm going to come to Stockholm and we'll just hang and have fun. And I went, no, that's a really bad idea. Because I wasn't in no mood for a relationship or any distraction. But she came. And then she came to visit me here in LA at Christmas. This was like November. And so when we hooked up again, it was like late December. And I went, So the whole song is kind of centered about our little journey together that brought us right up to there. And everybody has a guilty pleasure before you ask. You just don't want to write about it. So that's what the song is about. Which guilty pleasure? Well, maybe all of them.
Yeah, that's for the autobiography later on.
That it is. Yes. So that's where that comes from. And I'm glad I did that. It's music suited. It was perfect. And I went, this will be about Mrs. M, as I call her. Yeah.
Nice.
She's doing tremendously well. I'm going to give her another plug because she works very hard. She's never been out of work throughout this pandemic. She is in the medical field. She's a program director for eating disorder girls. And in the midst, like she doesn't have enough to do, she is also in nursing school. And she'll graduate at the end of the year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so she is, man, she beats the crap out of me because I don't know how she manages to do all of that. Yeah.
Is she working on her BSN?
Yes, she will do a bridge program out of her LVN into the RN program. Yeah. So, yeah, it's amazing. If you ask me how much work it involved to become a nurse, I'm going, dude. Yeah, she's buried. There's so much study involved. It's like I have so much admiration, you know.
I'm right there with you. I'm close with somebody who is an RN, and she's constantly,
it's just a copious. It's just, I mean, her weekends are just. She's a bookworm. There's so much to know. So, yeah. Plus, she was out on the front lines for 2 or 3 weeks when all of the vaccines became available. So she was out giving. She was one of the first people to start vaccines here in the LA area.
Wow. So she's a real hero. Totally.
In my book, she's, amazing. So timing couldn't be better for me to put a song about her on the on record, man. Yeah. So thanks for asking. Gives her a little plug there. She'd be very embarrassed.
Yeah. So would my lady if she knew I was talking about her in an interview.
Yeah. It's pay dues where dues are due, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And I think that, I don't know, those of us who are kind of in the spotlight, I think our partners tend to be even more shy about it.
Yeah.
Do you find that?
Yeah, I'm not sure why that is because, she loves to come out and do stuff. But ultimately, she does so much that I could spend all day just telling everybody how much she does. That makes what I do seem like, huh? Dude, you didn't do anything. Because it's by contrast. It's amazing. And of course, being married to her for 28 years and being gone a lot of the time, and she raising 2 boys. Yeah. I'm a lazy SOB compared to what she does, Plus, of course, up until pandemic last March, I was involved with the biggest show rating the Rock Vault at 5 nights a week, and almost 1,500 shows in the space of 7 years.
Wow.
Not quite 7. Yeah, not quite 7. And then home only on a Thursday, Friday, and then back to work Saturday, and tried to be a father and a husband and get my honeydew list done at the same time. So she's tremendous. I'm singing her praises now because she really held it together. So it's you're absolutely right. They do to have a tendency to, you do it. Yeah. But she does it so much better. Trust me, so much better. I just sit here talking to you, you know.
Yeah, I just sit here talking to other people.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm sitting here talking to you about her, so that's good. Yeah. So yeah, it's good. It's a great song. It was the last song I actually recorded. I purposely left it right till the end because it's a ball cruncher because it modulates. And I called Alessandro and I go, dude, I hate you, man. You know. And he goes, well, you don't have to sing it that high. You wrote the melody and you wrote the lyrics, so don't blame me. And I went, yeah, I guess you're right. But it worked out great. I played it to her and she goes, I know that story. And I'm going, you should. Yeah. So, yeah, thanks for asking.
Of course. Thank you for telling me the story behind it. So you mentioned raiding the Rock Vault.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you about that. So 5 nights a week, 1,500 shows over 7 years. How do you keep your voice up? How do you keep your motivation up for something like that?
Just because of that. When we started, it started as an idea from a gentleman by the name of Simon Napier Bell, who was responsible for a phenomenal amount of big artists back when. But he also managed George Michael's, and he managed that Wham thing. He managed the Yardbirds with Jimmy Page. So he has a huge history in the business. He lives in Thailand, and he said that one night he was watching a cover band, and the idea came to him that what if I was to get a bunch of sort of recording, touring artists, sort of the real deal guys who are out there doing it, and put them together doing a bunch of cover songs. Wonder how that would fly. So he put it together. They got stage production people in. They put a show on. We did a show in LA and recorded a 3-minute sizzle that they took to Vegas. Vegas snapped it up. And we thought this could last a weekend. It lasted 7 years, right up till the pandemic. Voted #1 every single 6 years consecutively as best of Vegas for the category that we were in. And there was a time that we actually were singing or performing 6 nights a week at one of the casinos we were in. And so obviously it's hard enough for the players, and it's a 10-piece cast on the stage. So it's a huge stage, huge cast, big show. And we had to basically look at ourselves as singers. I mean, obviously it's not one vocal. There's 4 male vocalists. There's Paul Shortino with myself. There used to be Andrew Freeman, who now sings for Last in Line. Mark Bowles was in the show from Yngwie. There's 2, Todd Kearns, of course, is in it right now from Slash's band. Yep. There's 2 female singers, Megan Ruger, who was on The Voice, and Sean Coy, who was out with Dweezil Zappa's band, also sang with Meatloaf right up until the time that he didn't perform anymore. And so we have a 2-hour show. It used to be actually 2.5 hours. Now they got it down to 90 minutes. So we're constantly moving and supporting each other and singing our own pieces. And the question came up, how are we going to sustain this vocally for a different audience every single night of the week, right there at the top level? You have to be good because people are paying. It's Vegas, it's showtime, it's entertainment time, and people want the complete package. They don't want to see or hear, I have a cold, I don't feel well, which happens. And Vegas has the worst conditions for singers. It's dusty, it's windy, yep. And there is the famous Vegas throat, as they call it, that affects everybody that comes through. There's a story that, when Bon Jovi comes through to tour, he usually plays the MGM, or they'll do a residency. Residencies are huge, which I think they took it from Raiding the Rock Vault, because Aerosmith came in a residency. Journey came in on a residency. Def Leppard came in. Scorpions came in after we had done it. We actually came in on the back of what came out of New York. Well, I can't remember. There was a stage show that came out of New York that didn't last very long. But we came in, and we needed to step it up once we started getting these long residencies, and it's your instrument, so I take exceptional care. I never hang in the casinos. The casinos are very smoky. The showrooms are not, but the casinos are. So as soon as the show is done, we would do our meet and greets, our signings, and I would just hightail it out of there. And I wouldn't talk to anybody throughout the day. Seriously, I would be very isolated and all about the show. Sometimes we'd have work to do, promo stuff throughout the day, but you try to designate that to people who can talk and don't have to put so much strain on the vocal. Talking is even worse than singing, in terms of how it affects your vocal cords. And you do your stuff. You take good care of it. You do your vocal exercises. You be a good little boy, and you don't stay out all night in Vegas like some people I know do. And so you hope that it all goes well. And there was times, of course, we all get sick. You get the flu. You just get the bug. But then we have a support team. We have a revolving door of people who can sub. If you're pretty good, you go with it. If you're just a disaster, you have to call in the subs. That's just basically how it works,
Yeah.
Sometimes it's difficult because you can't. Subs are not just subs. They're also performers, sometimes from other shows, so we all sort of support each other. And within Rock Vault, every singer should know everybody else's part. So if somebody's not able to do it, you can jump into that slot. And
so you understudy each other.
Basically all the time. So you're going, dude, you got this one? And that's really how it works. So you learn very quickly that you have to be ready at the drop of a penny to assume the role. And it's good training. It's very, very good training. And it's like a muscle. You use it enough. I know when I started Standing on the Edge, I hadn't actually been singing since March. So I had to get back into the wheelhouse and break out the WD-40 and start training again before I started recording, especially when I was doing my demos for it and, steam inhalers, all of the stuff that I do. So that when you're ready to go, you don't hold up the show, basically. So, yeah, it works. It works. Not all the time, but most of the time. Yeah.
Well, your voice on Standing on the Edge, so the album really showcases your voice, which it should because it's your solo album.
Right.
But your voice it's crystal clear. You're every bit as good, probably better now than back in the 80s with MSG and Grand Prix.
Yeah, I'm go on, finish. Yeah. Finish.
Oh, please.
No, I'm definitely, I hate saying stuff about myself, but I'm definitely a better singer by far. I mean, when I listen to the Grand Prix stuff, I find it embarrassing because I'm going, shit, I wish I could re-record that because I would do it so much better now. And even early McAuley Schenker, I'm going, I could do that so much better now. And you just, I suppose, like everything else, you develop. It's been a long time since McAuley Schenker. It's been even longer since Grand Prix. And I suppose, like an athlete, if you didn't get better over time, then you're not doing your job correctly. I know some people go downhill over time, and I've developed better techniques that I didn't have then that work much better for me now. I learned how to do it correctly as opposed to, pushing the envelope where it sounded like you're pushing the envelope. Now I can sort of fairly easily, plus the fact I know my voice much better now than I did before. So I know my limitations. So what I do is I work within those parameters. So I go, this is my box, and I know exactly which corner to go into and hide when it comes to it, you know. And I pushed myself in a few places, especially on late December. It really modulates. I think it goes into an F somewhere. That's that full voice. It's cranking it for me. I know that for other singers they have a wider octave range, but that's them. I work with what I have and try and make it as best that I can. And I think that's what's important for singers. Know your limitations and work the hell out of that to make that sound as good as you can, you know.
Yep, absolutely. And I was going to ask you if you had any advice for younger singers who want to have a long career, who want a voice that lasts. And
I think if that's what you want to do, if that's your passion, you have to live your passion. You have to make it. You have to make it. No excuses. Oh, dude, I need to. Then decide first what it is. Michael Schenker, not to bring him up, I will tell you, been around him as a guitar player. That guitar never. I think he sleeps. I think he does sleep sometimes, but whenever you see him, very rarely do you see him without a guitar in his hand. If he's traveling to a rehearsal room or something, even when he's on a plane, if he gets a spare seat, it's out. He is constantly playing. Somebody said that Jimi Hendrix used to get up in the morning and wear his guitar when he was making breakfast. Michael Schenker does something not too dissimilar. He's always playing. So, point in case, I'm not always singing because I rest a lot when I don't have to. I don't use my voice when I don't have to. But when it's time for me to sing, I do all sorts of stuff. I mean, I do a lot of steam. Sleep is so important for a singer. You know, a fully alert, awake voice, because it's singing is very physical. It's very, very physical. When you singing live is one thing. Singing recording is a whole different ballgame, because now you're really on the money. You have to step up there and go, now I need to be able to do what I think I like doing live, and then translate that onto a record and get all of those inflections and all of those stuff. And live is great because you can kind of rehearse that sort of stuff and know what you're going to do before you get to the. I'm very prepared when I go to the studio, which brings me back to working with the engineer. You know, I'm at home. I've got my headphones on, my earbuds, and I'm writing all of these lyrics and I'm writing all of these melodies, and I'll do a quick demo, send it back to Alessandro. He said nothing. He was silent, and I wondered, does he hate it? Does he hate it? Right? And then before I know it, all of the tracks are done with most of the music, not everything. You know, there were no lead breaks or anything on any of the songs when I recorded. And I really like to hear what the rhythm guitars are playing and what the bass is playing very clearly when I'm writing a song, because it's important for me to hear those changes. Because if there's guitar ripping over the top, I'm going, huh? What is that? So I work with a very stripped down track, as near as damn it. Never lead guitars on there, because I don't need to hear lead guitars at that point of the writing. So when those tracks hit the engineer studio, he had no idea what I was going to do when I walked in. He hit record, and I would pick the song I was going to work on, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm set up. I'm ready to go when you are." And I would start, and I would just start tracking, and I'd be prepared. And he would go, "Well, good, next." And that's kind of how it went. I know, not that easy, but that was kind of it was the plan. You have a plan, you stick to it, and it usually works for me. So I always used to say rehearsal rooms are really not for rehearsing. They cost money. Rehearsal rooms cost money. So if you're going in there to just, spend time having a chat and learning the songs, you're wasting somebody's money. So rehearsal rooms are for going in and playing the songs and getting everything tight. You should know your shit before you go in there, basically.
Yeah.
And a lot of musicians don't do that. They go, dude, let's go, just jam. It's like, nope, this is not where you jam. Jam when it's all done, and you got nothing else to do, and the show is ready. But you need to. I'm boring. I'm very disciplined. I stay very focused, get it done, and then you can smile, because I stress out about it, which to me, a show is a show. Give me a show. Entertain me. I have no time for goofing off, entertain me, and then you can have fun. And I'm going, dude, this is good. Now you can have your chat. And I learned a lot of that over the years of how to stay focused and stay disciplined. You get a lot of work done and a lot of good work done because you have the plan, and that's just what works for me. It doesn't work for everybody, because you get the guy that was lighten up, dude. I have a great sense of humor, just not that this is going to take all day. Yeah. And you can overwork. You can dig in on a song, but then you can overwork it. Now it's lost its spontaneity. It's lost the magic because it's like, get the fire burning and kill that thing, and you'll feel the energy. That's the part I like. I feel that first flame that you feel on a new song, and you're going, poof, man, let's play it again. And then, by the 100th time, you're going, I hate this song. So, and the voice is like that, rehearsal rooms are the worst because you really need to hear what you're doing as a singer, crappy PAs. How many times have we heard that story?
Yeah.
That's so in-ears have been a godsend over the years. Of course, way back in the Grand Prix days, and even McAuley Schenker, we didn't have in-ears. We had monitors, And what can you hear coming out of a monitor? A guitar at 12, And then you have mics that are here, and you have a drum riser that's behind you, and that kick drum comes through your microphone that comes back through your monitors, and what do you hear? Not much.
Yeah.
And what are you trying to do as a singer? You can't.
And that's when you're singing with the finger in the ear, trying to hear yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what it is, and it's like it's usually if it's a shit sound, it's a shit show. That's what I always say, So once you get a good balance and everybody knows why they're there and what they're doing, yeah, it's good. I love a good show. I love a good show where you hear everything and you're going, dude, this is cranking, because you can feel it. You can feel it. If it's a big old mush, that's usually what it is. It's a big old mush. I don't know. Does that make sense? It makes perfect sense to me.
I think it makes sense to any musician. Yeah. Speaking of, so I talked to Reb Beach recently. It was interesting that you said that, Black Swan 2 is in progress, because I spoke to him right before he was going to start working on the next Black Swan album.
Really?
He had just come back from Nashville writing with Kip Winger on the next Winger stuff, and then, he revealed that Black Swan 2 was starting to roll. So how is that going? So just for the people who don't know, so you with Black Swan, you came out with the first album last year,
right.
Shake the World. And that's you, Reb Beach on guitar, Jeff Pilson on bass, and Matt Starr from Mr. Big and Ace Frehley on drums.
Correct.
I know this answer, but how has the response been to Shake the World, to the first album?
I think it's been excellent. I think, there were a lot of rock shows. There was a lot of rock magazines who were going, "This is album of the year. This is great. This is different. This is where it should be. There's so much of the same. It's like this completely takes it. It's stripped down. It's raw. This is real rock and roll. Blah blah blah." And it kind of took us by surprise. Of course, the pandemic hit. That really stopped a lot of the motion. But then throughout the year, it started to come back in again, and they started they're re-releasing like gold vinyls and all that sort of stuff. That's getting a lot of interest. You know, it was a great record when we did it. It's still a great record. It's one of, I think it's my personal favorite record that I've ever sang on. I'm going to go that far.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
The best vocal sound I ever had. It's just a kick-ass production. Pilson is just the bomb. It's what we discussed at the very beginning. We wanted to keep it no frills. We wanted to keep those songs no fillers. We wanted to keep just good melodies, good strong melodies. Keep it classic rock with just a little. As we say, there's no BS in Black Swan.
I like that.
That became our go-to. Well, what do you call it? Mantra, if you will. So Black Swan 2, they've already been sending me. Reb's already been with Pilson in the studio, and they call me and they're going, "Dude, dude, we got some killer stuff, man. Don't fuck it up." So it's been it's on my computer. It's I've been cranking it, listening, and we got the first batch of songs coming in, and I'm currently working up melodies and lyrics, and the process. The process is when for Black Swan, when I'm ready to go with the tunes, I'll get together with Jeff, and we'll do a rough demo, and then we'll go change that here, blah blah blah, and it's usually pretty fast. And on the same day, I'll step up to the mic, and we'll start recording it. And it's
oh wow, that fast.
And that's what we did on the first one, and really that's it. I sit with Jeff for maybe an hour, and I'll sit in the control room, a mic in my hand. He'll run the track. I'll start singing what I have, lyrically what I have. He goes, "Yeah, that word doesn't work." Someone said, "Let's change that word there. Let's change that phrase to this phrase," and then whatever it takes to complete the format of the finished. And then I'll step up and start singing, and we'll really hear it. It won't be mixed, of course, but we'll hear it in its entirety and what we're going to do, and then I'll add backing vocals to it. Last time, my son Casey, who's a great little guitar player, he's got a stupidly high voice, and he goes, "Can I come to the studio and watch what's going on?" So he comes, and he's sitting in the control room, and he goes, "I could do a harmony like way up in the sky for this one." And Jeff goes, "Was that you doing that?" He goes, "Get out there behind that microphone." So Casey sang on about 4 or 5 songs on the Black Swan record. And it's just, he's got that, young kid, really high end, that puts color up there. Matt, we didn't get to sing. Matt's a great singer. Not too many people realize that, even know that. But Matt Starr has a great vocal, and we fully plan to make him work this time. and he'll add a different dimension to the back. And we're not, if you notice, we're not very heavy on the backing vocals. We don't want it to be like all syrupy and stuff. It's usually like, gang sort of thing. But you still have
very 80s arena anthemic.
But you need to be able to keep it there with some kahunas. And that's kind of how we did it, a huge amount of fun. Pilson is on 12 all the time. I mean, if you watch that guy in the control room, he is jumping all over the place. It's just, it's hilarious. And that's the kind of fun I guess I'm alluding to that we still have for the music. It's just fun. It's fun, and the rest comes behind it. we go in with that attitude, and it's like, let's just do this, and it usually comes across like that. And that's, at least that's what we feel. We don't put too much thought behind it. It's just how we are. We're a bunch of idiots, and Reb, what can you say? The man he has so much melody. He has got so many ideas in his head, and boy, does he deliver. I mean, first Black Swan, absolutely kills it. I could listen to his playing all day. It's awesome. Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he's great. Great. So, can't wait to get in and start putting this down. But first, Standing on the Edge has to be a massive success.
I really hope it is, because, like I said, I've heard it and I really enjoy it, and I think it's your best singing ever.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, Black Swan is great, but this album really showcases your voice, in my opinion.
Yeah, I get a chance to roam around a little bit. I mean, if you go from the opening track of Thy Will Be Done into a Runaway, which when I heard the music, I went, oh, it reminds me when I was a little boy, and we used to have this fun growing up in Ireland. We used to back up onto like 80 acres of land, right? And you could see the rain coming across the field. And we were usually like, and it rains a lot in Ireland, just in case you don't know. And we'd be usually way back up there, and we would have a competition. We would see if we could actually race the rain home. Never did. It never did. We'd be like drowned rats by the time we'd make it to our backyard. But that's where the song inspiration came from, to see if you could actually beat those dark clouds and the rain with it. And so I got a chance to run away and just do something a little bit different, a different tonality in the vocals completely, and some of the other stuff. Same as the last track of Running Out of Time is like a steamroller. It's like it just goes. And I use my voice on there that in ways that I wouldn't normally. Same as on Late December, I really push it when it starts to modulate a little bit. And then, of course, the next track, Want to Take a Ride, is a complete shift again. So I get a chance vocally to move around in a lot of different dynamics. That I love. That's what singing is about. It's just it's meandering through your vocal range, and that little box I was telling you about, it's like one of those ping pong games,
Yep.
And so I decide where I'm going with it, and find the most comfortable part of my range, and then bump, out it comes. And I'm raspy, I have a natural rasp in my voice that, depending on the vowel sound that I'm singing, I can keep it dirty or I can clean it up. And I use that a lot too. If I go for this note, I'm going to make it really raspy, but I'm not. I'm going to go here because I want to keep it clean. And I can still pretty much get up there. And so it depends. The vowel sound has a lot to do with that end note of how it's going to sound. If it rolls around it, rounds it, it's going to be really raspy, or if I want it to be. And so I have a lot of fun with that sort of. I was a big Rod Stewart fan in early Faces, so a lot of my sort of in my head direction, I will think of early Faces. It was very trashy, and it doesn't really work for this kind of material, but the style I always harken back to a lot. And of course, I was a big Paul Rodgers fan, and so when I'm singing and I'm going, that's where I want to go with this one. So I do that all the time, even as I'm moving through the track. I might change my mind at the last minute and go, oh, dude, you didn't sing that in the demo. I'm going, it just came to me. So that kind of thing is fun. And of course, if you don't like it, you just hit that big old delete button, do it again. Yep. So that's the beauty of it, But interestingly interestingly enough, with Standing on the Edge, all the melodies and all of the lyrics, Alessandro just went, sounds good to me. I'm not changing anything. And I went, well, where's your production hat? Come on, produce. And he goes, all sounds great. And he says, I'm just going to start mixing and send you rough mixes and see what you think and make your changes. And that's really what we ended up with. I'm pretty happy with it. Yeah.
Good. Anything surprise you, or anything about your voice, the way you chose to do something in that moment that surprised you?
I think I'll keep going back to, anytime a song starts to modulate, the pressure's on, because I keep going back to Late December because it really keeps modulating. And I'm going, what are you trying to do to me here, man? Just let me sing. Let me sing the song really flat. So I really pushed that one. I really pushed it on Running Out of Time. The opening track on Thy Will Be Done, I love all of the new symphonic rock from like Nightwish and all of that stuff. But then I go left field and I love Sabaton, and I've been front row with Sabaton. We played Loud Park with Schenker Fest, 40,000 people, and we're headlining. Sabaton comes on an hour or two before us on a different stage. Wild Horses couldn't stop me, and I'm going out front. So I'm out front, and they're going, what is he doing out here? And I'm out here listening to Sabaton, and I'm up there with like thousands of Japanese fans. Because I'm going, dude, this is the best entertainment. I don't know if you've ever seen Sabaton live.
No, I haven't had the opportunity, but
God,
I love their albums.
It's the best. I mean, it is total involvement. It is like this, Yeah. So, where were we? We were at a Sabaton concert. That's where we were.
Right. Yeah, you were front row at Sabaton.
Yes. So, there's a huge amount of music out there. So, Thy Will Be Done has that sort of symphonic approach to it that I just wanted something a little bit different. So when Alessandro sent me the music, I went, let's really take this, exaggerate a little bit on this, different for me. And he loved it. He thought actually that should have been one of the first singles, believe it or not.
I can see that. It's the first track on the album, and it really opens up. It really sets a tone. It opens the album up just wide. It's wonderful to hear Thy Will Be Done.
Yeah, and I loved it. I thought myself it would be an immediate single. What's a single anymore, right? A good track, let's call it. A good strong opener, which is why it is where it is. And it was the perfect way to open the record. So we were definitely on the same page with that one. And I would love to do that live. I think it would be awesome. Great live track. So fingers crossed, hopefully when we can get back to doing some real work, we can introduce all of this stuff live. And again, not to harp on about the guitar player, Andrea, he did a phenomenal job. I think I'm not sure if I told you at the beginning, but a lot of people in their reviews of the record so far, or the singles, I should say, we're comparing it to Dokken.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and Jeff Pilson told me only last week, he called me and he said, so George called me and he said, George said, hey, did you produce that new McAuley record? And he goes, no. And he goes, sounds like a Dokken record.
That's high praise coming from George Lynch.
I know, right? So it turns out, I mean, it's vocally, obviously it's not done, but Andre is very influenced by George Lynch. So I guess, if you put enough of that together, you're going to have a George feel somewhere. I don't hear it. Everybody else seems to hear it. So he did a great job throughout the whole record. He's a great player, and we'll be hearing a lot more from him, I think.
Yeah. Is it Saveso? Is that how you pronounce his last
Saveso,
name?
yes, Andrea Saveso.
So let me ask you, Robin, speaking of Dokken, have you heard the End Machine's new album, Phase 2?
I haven't heard the whole thing. I've just seen the singles so far,
Okay.
and I've been giving all my likes and my thumbs up. Robert Mason's a great singer, and
Yes.
George is doing it phenomenal. I mean, he's just wailing on there.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
I mean, George Lynch is just amazing.
Yeah,
But
totally.
I was just curious if you'd heard it, because I was talking to George, and he was telling me he and Jeff intentionally want to go with more of that Dokken sound.
Right.
So,
Yeah, they're answering a lot of questions, I notice right now, about a potential Dokken reunion, and I think Don has other commitments at this point, and of course Mick Brown's brother, of course, is in now for as the drummer for End Machine. But the record is, what I've heard so far, is awesome. You know, it's great songwriting. How could it not be? You know.
right. Yeah.
So yeah, and this is their second one. So, and it is definitely more Dokken than the first one. If we want to go on about Dokken a little bit, but again, how could it not be with George and Jeff? You know. So
Right. And
yeah.
Sorry.
Go on.
Oh no, I thought it was cool how they were embracing that, you know, because they're constantly getting anything they do together, they're constantly getting that comparison to Dokken. So it was nice to hear, you know, that they intentionally embraced that, and they went for the hookiness of the old 80s Dokken, you know.
Yeah. Well, as a result of Standing on the Edge and Say Goodbye as singles, and then the comments that were coming about, this sounds like Lynch, that's okay by me. Then all the comments were coming in, shouldn't we have a McAuley Lynch record then?
I think George only has, 5 more albums coming out this year, so he's got room for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, I'm going to say the same thing. Who needs a McAuley Lynch record? You know?
I don't know. Now that you mention it, I think it'd be interesting to hear what you two write together. That might be interesting.
Well, it would be George Lynch with a different singer, you know. Yeah. I don't know why he didn't keep Lynch Mob going, because, you know, he had, you know, Lynch Mob with Oni was pretty awesome.
Yes, and I know that he had some concerns about the name given the environment of the last couple of years.
Right,
you know.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I completely get that, and I think George had always known that it might become a problem, even though, you know, it's his name.
Yeah.
But
yeah, people don't see that. People are on the other side of the fence with that one. They're taking a different, completely. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Nothing's sacred anymore. Just remember that. You know, it's like, what is politically correct? You know, even correct is not correct anymore.
Well,
you know?
yeah.
Changing times. We are standing on the edge of a big change, man.
We are, and I hope that, you know, I mean, the change is going to happen. I hope that things can settle down and we can come out the other side of this with a reasonable expectation of what's okay to say and what's not, and taking context into account a little more than we do these days.
Well said. Well said.
Thank you.
Well said. Yeah. And we need to do that. We absolutely need to do that before it runs away with us, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I really do think that change is painful, and in a world like we have today where anything anybody says is instantly available to the entire planet, that, you know, it's just an accelerated change or a more public change. But I really do think change is going to happen, and it's going to settle down, and we're going to get back to being able to relate to each other without first thinking, what is he going to say to offend me?
Yeah, well, as they say in Vegas, what happens in Vegas stays on Facebook.
That's a good one.
So, you know, with all of that at your fingertips, it's instant. It's instant, and you can't take it back. You know, and so the whole level of accountability, etc., 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 is, you can text something to somebody, and text has no emotion. You try to have them build emotion into it, but two different people reading the same text may take two different meanings out of it. Yep. It's the same as when I write lyrics. People go, dude, I love that song and how you wrote that, and this is what it means to me. And it may be something completely different than I had in my mind. So, it's that's the same with how people can take something out of context that was said in a flippant moment,
Right.
and yes, you're right. We need to move forward and do it correctly. We have a chance. That's what I always say. I was thinking about that when I was writing Standing on the Edge. Which is why that's where the artwork idea. The label says, what do you want for your cover? And I'm going, I want a photo of me, not, and I had the idea. Who sees the perspective other than God looking down? How about the gargoyles sitting above the world? The city is just there because it's there, and I started thinking about, I loved all the Gotham movies, right? And I started thinking about the gargoyles sitting high up and looking down and going, I can see it if you don't.
Silent observers to our foibles.
And that's where the idea for the artwork, they put me in contact with Nello Delamo was the artist, and I threw my ideas at him and I said, this is what I want. And he sent back some renderings, and I went, no, a little bit more here. And he goes, this is good. And so you have Standing on the Edge. Look, let's take a look. Let's stand back and take a good, strong look. I'm no prophet. That said, of course, when we get harking back to Black Swan, when we released Shake the World and Big Disaster, people were going, dude, did you know something about what was going to happen?
I know, it seems like such a prophetic song.
Right. And I'm going, well, of course it is.
I think I introed it on the air saying, welcome to the Big Disaster. Here's the title track.
Right? And it's funny how some things play out. As I told you, I come in and it was the very, very first song that I started to work on with Black Swan. And Reb, of course, goes, dude, really? Big Disaster? And here we are. Here we are a whole year later of a number of big disasters, So, we'll move forward, and we will learn a lot because of it. Thank God, hopefully. I need a drink after this. Let's do it. I'm joking. But yeah, I know we've covered quite a diverse bag of subjects, but all good. It's all about life. It's all about life. Music's about life. The songs I write about is life, whether it's my life or somebody on a parallel course. It's all meaningful stuff.
Yeah. Well, Robin McAuley, I won't keep you any longer. Thank you so much for your time. I had a great conversation.
You're very welcome. Thanks for the chat. It was awesome. And thanks for the record.
Remember, to hear the music discussed in this interview, stream the on-demand Hard, Heavy, and Hair show at pariahrocks.com.
That's PARIAHROCKS.com.
Also hit pariahrocks.com to stream or listen on a radio station near you. The regular 2-hour Hard, Heavy, and Hair show with me, Pariah Burke. Hard, Heavy, and Hair is your weekly dose of hard rock, heavy metal, and hair bands from the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 20-teens, and today, including the latest new releases, your old favorites, and deep cuts and rare hair, along with rock news and trivia.